Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will make you see things differently. If people around you suddenly feel uneasy, conversations feel strange, or old patterns no longer work, it's not a coincidence. Something changed quietly, but strongly, and you were the reason. Most people don't realize this, but power doesn't always attack. It predicts. Systems, organizations, and even relationships work by guessing what someone will do next. For a long time, you were easy to read, easy to predict, and easy to manage. That's why things happened the way they did. But now, your actions and your inner balance have broken those assumptions. You are no longer acting the way they expected. And that change sends ripple effects that other people notice without even trying. This is why the world around you feels different. People show their insecurities, your boundaries get tested, and opportunities start shifting in ways you did not expect. These are not random events. They are real responses studied in social psychology, neuroscience, and behavior. Systems. Calmness, clear thinking, and steady behavior can force people and systems to adjust, whether they admit it or not. When you understand this, you gain control without a fight. You'll see why responsibility finds you, why recognition comes after. Growth, and why being alone during change is temporary, but necessary. This is about influence, alignment, and personal leverage that cannot be undone. Once you understand it, you stop reacting and start moving on purpose. And that is when real change begins. Before we explore this transformative message, please take a moment to pause the video and complete 3 simple actions. Click the like button. Subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Leave a comment with the number 11. Most power in the world does not announce itself. It does not knock, threaten, or explain. It works through silent agreements. It's unspoken. Rules that decide how much you are allowed to want, say, or become. These agreements are made early, reinforced by others, and rarely questioned. No one asked you to sign them, yet you were expected to follow them. Stay agreeable. Stay predictable. Don't disturb the emotional balance in the room. These invisible contracts are the base of control in families, workplaces, and whole cultures. Psychologically, this works through what researchers call internalizing norms. People follow expectations not because they are forced, but because breaking them can cause social discomfort. The fear of being left out becomes a stronger rule than any boss or authority. Over time, this creates obedience without anyone having to threaten you. People start limiting themselves automatically, editing their thoughts, shrinking their reactions, and lowering their ambition long before anyone else needs to step in. The danger is not that these agreements exist. The danger is that they are hidden. When rules are invisible, you blame yourself for feeling trapped. You assume the problem is your weakness, not the way you were trained. And that misunderstanding keeps the system working much longer than force ever could. Being controlled usually does not feel like being trapped. It feels like routine, like normal life. That is why most people never notice when they are being managed on purpose. The human brain is built to save energy, so it trusts familiar patterns. Once a situation feels stable, the mind stops questioning it, even if that stability blocks growth. Cognitive psychology explains this with ideas like status quo bias and learned predictability. When your reactions stay the same, other people quietly adjust their behavior around you, not because they are evil, but because it is easier. Over time, this becomes strategy. Who will take the pressure? Who will hesitate? Who will over-explain? Who will not push back? None of this needs a secret plan. It happens naturally in social groups. Its most unsettling part is this. The people who benefit from your predictability often do not think they are controlling you. They just feel comfortable. And once comfort exists, it will fight change, especially when it depends on your silence. Control rarely comes from bullying. It comes from 3 quiet forces: dependence, distraction, and delay. Dependence keeps you tied to approval, praise, or resources. Distraction keeps your attention scattered, busy but unsatisfied. Delay keeps your goals pushed into the future. Always someday, never now. Together, these 3 things slowly drain your power to choose. Behavioral science shows that when people depend on others, feel mentally overloaded, and keep putting things off, they become easy to manage. They don't rebel because they are tired. They don't plan because they are distracted. They don't leave because they are still waiting for the right time. This is not an accident. Many modern systems are built to create this exact result.
How?
Breaking this triangle does not require a rebellion, it requires clarity. The moment you need less approval, focus more simply, and shorten your timelines, the whole structure weakens. Control only works when you stay inside its shape. Destruction is loud. Containment is quiet. Most systems don't want you gone. Want you manageable? Person who is exhausted but still useful, ambitious but unsure, capable but held back? That is the ideal result. Containment keeps productivity without risking disruption. In organizational psychology, containment is more efficient than suppression. People who think they are choosing their limits almost never fight them. That is why encouragement often comes with hidden ceilings. You are praised, supported, and even rewarded dried up until your growth becomes inconvenient.
Ending.
This changes everything. It was never personal. You were not underestimated.
You were measured.
And once you see that difference, self-blame fades away. What replaces it is something far more dangerous to control systems: awareness. The shift did not happen when you argued. It happened when you changed your rhythm, when your responses slowed down, when your explanations got shorter, when you became selective with your emotional energy. In systems thinking, this is called pattern interruption, and it is one of the fastest ways to break predictability-based control. Neuroscience shows that people depend on predicting others' behavior to feel safe. When your pattern changes, it creates uncertainty, not drama. Uncertainty. And uncertainty forces adjustment. People start watching differently. Conversations change tone. Assumptions weaken. The important thing is that this was not aggression. It was alignment. You did not push outward. You stabilized inward. And that inner change sent a clearer message than any argument ever could. All right. Continuing with the same tone, depth, and human flow, unpredictability is often confused with chaos. But really, it can be a sign of freedom. When people cannot predict your actions perfectly anymore, control weakens on its own. This idea is well known in game theory. If you cannot be perfectly modeled, you cannot be easily used. Once you step out of repeating emotional and behavior loops, the advantage quietly shifts. In everyday life, predictability often looks like reliability. You answer quickly. You agree icily. You smooth over problems. Over time, this creates a behavior profile other people depend on without thinking. When that profile changes, when your replies become measured and your decisions less reactive, it creates friction. Not hostility, but caution. It is the first sign that power dynamics are being rebalanced. This is not about being random or distant. It is about acting on purpose instead of acting by reflex. When people cannot press a familiar button and get a familiar result, they stop pushing. That is when respect starts replacing expectation. Over-explaining is often mistaken for being clear, but in psychology, it can signal uncertainty. You justify yourself, the more you suggest your choices can be argued with. When you stopped explaining everything, you did not become cold. You became self-directed, and that quietly changed how others saw your authority. Social psychology, research, keeps showing that confidence is often judged by brevity. Clear choices said without extra emotional padding are seen as competence. It's not because they are louder, but because they show inner stability. People trust those who seem settled in their choices. Silence here is not avoidance. It is control. You are no longer asking for approval or permission to act. And once that pattern breaks, conversations start organizing around you instead of passing through you. Not all motivation is bright and cheerful. Some of it is built from frustration, unfairness, and anger that no one talks about. Society often teaches people to hide these feelings, calling them dangerous or unhelpful. But psychology says something else. Hidden emotion does not vanish. It leaks out. Guided emotion transforms. When anger is shaped by awareness, it becomes clarity. When pain is accepted instead of denied, it becomes determination. This is not about becoming cruel. is about taking back energy you used to spend on self-doubt and people-pleasing. Dark motivation is steady, not explosive. It does not beg for approval. It seeks alignment. And once you use it well, it creates consistency. The kind that does not burn out because it is rooted in truth, not performance. Detachment is often misunderstood as shutting down. But in philosophy and psychology, it means being free from emotional traps, not free from life. When you stop tying your self-worth to outcomes, reactions, or approval, you did not stop caring. You gained perspective. Stoic ideas, Eastern teachings, and modern psychology all agree here. Attachment increases suffering and weakens your ability to choose. Detachment does not erase feelings. It stops feelings from taking over your judgment. This creates a rare kind of strength, calm under pressure. From the outside, it looks like confidence. From the inside, it feels like relief. You are no longer fighting to be understood or approved. You are simply acting in line with your values, and that higher level changes every interaction after it. Status reversal is not about arguing. It is about perception. When your inner state changes confidence.com/steadiness, other people adjust how they treat you without even noticing. Neuroscience calls this mirror neuron recalibration. People reflect and respond to energy, tone, and presence. When your energy becomes steady, it signals authority without you saying a word. Research shows that small behavior changes can shift power dynamics faster than any argument or proof. Once your old predictability is gone, assumptions collapse. People below you start questioning directions. Peers rethink their position. Even people who tried to limit you pause to reassess. This does not happen instantly, but it happens. When the inner shift lasts, the world starts aligning with your real ability, not your old limits. That is the quiet revolution of power. 8. Starts with perception, not action. Behavioral psychology explains why energy shifts create emotional reactions. When you stop fitting in, people notice the gap between what they expected and what is real. Their curiosity rises. Their nervousness rises. And respect shows up not because you scare them, but because your steadiness shows self-reliance and skill. This connects to something called cognitive dissonance. When someone's picture of you no longer matches the real you, it creates tension. Their attempts to predict you or control you fail. And that uncertainty leads to watching, adjusting, and sometimes admiration. You will notice small signs, a different tone, more careful words, a pause before criticism. These are not coincidences. They are proof that your inner work is creating real outside results. Recognition does not come from effort. Power is often quiet. The best tools do not require fights. They depend on structure, consistency, and timing. For example, being available only sometimes sets boundaries without debate. Answering at a controlled pace shows thoughtfulness and authority. Even planned silence can be more convincing than arguing. Psychology shows that body language, tone, posture, and timing are processed by others without thinking, and they can strongly change how people behave. When you shape your presence on purpose even in small ways, you reduce manipulation and increase how competent you appear. The best part of these tools is that they build on each other. Each small choice strengthens the next. Over weeks, your energy, rhythm, and focus communicate authority in ways words alone never could. You become the standard, not the negotiable variable. Calm is powerful because people do not expect it. Systems, manipulators, and reactive people feed on emotional signals. When they try to stir up tension, a calm response creates resistance. The energy they need to steer you is no longer there. In neuroscience, this happens because the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part, stays in charge instead of the amygdala. When you stay composed, you stop reacting impulsively. This changes relationships. People cannot predict your next move, and their attempts to influence you stop working. This calm is not weak. It is active control. It is energy refined through awareness. And strangely, it creates both room for connection and an invisible boundary that earns respect without a fight. When you step back from the role you always held socially or emotionally, you create a vacuum. Systems, organizations, and relationships are built around predictable roles. When one role suddenly disappears, the structure shakes. This is not chaos, it is opportunity. The space you leave disrupts routines, forcing others to rethink their beliefs about you and about the system. By refusing the old expectation, you show your energy is no longer available to feed their normal way of doing things. Research in workplace behavior shows that when an important person pulls back even a little, the ripple effects are huge. People rush to fill gaps, often exposing hidden dependence and unspoken control. This is why leaders and manipulators fear the quiet withdrawal of compliant people. It reveals weak spots and forces change. The vacuum you create is not empty. It is a spotlight that reveals what used to be hidden. And the key point is this: it works without a fight. You do not need to challenge, argue, or perform. By simply changing your level of engagement, being selective, reserved, or strategic, you shift the whole system. And as the pressure created by your absence grows, your value seems to rise automatically, as people start noticing what they used to take for granted. As you grow, people around you often react in strange ways. One common reaction is projection. This is when someone puts their fears, doubts, and insecurities onto another person. When your growth makes them feel small or unready, they push their inner discomfort outward. Suddenly, criticism, doubt, or unwanted advice shows up not because of what you did, but because they feel uneasy about your progress. To understand this, you need to understand human behavior patterns. Projection comes from the brain's need to feel balanced. When your growth challenges their inner story, I am capable, I am safe, I am in control, they defend themselves. By seeing your progress as a threat, this explains why people you expected to cheer for you suddenly seem tense, critical, or distant. The key is noticing it and staying detached. When you recognize projection, you stop taking it into your heart. Instead of reacting, you watch their discomfort as proof of their limits. This protects your emotional balance and also shows you who can grow with you and who cannot. In other words, projection becomes a test tool for choosing who to trust around you. Every time you shift your thinking or behavior, the system around you enters what psychologists call a power rebalancing phase. People, expectations, and even institutions feel pressure because old patterns stop working. This stage can feel uncomfortable because it challenges hidden hierarchies and roles that used to make life predictable. You no longer fit the old picture they depended on. Social science shows that change naturally creates tension. When identity and relationships shift inside you and outside you, everyone must renegotiate expectations. That is why you're calm. Or clear thinking can cause confusion or quiet resistance. At first, this stress is temporary, but necessary. The system is adjusting to your new presence, and that process cannot be rushed or skipped. During this time, discomfort is a sign of growth. It shows old control tools are loosening and new influence is forming. Instead of escaping it, stay steady in the tension. Keep your inner alignment. Follow your principles and let the adjustment happen. The friction is proof your power is growing, even if it feels unstable. Once your energy, presence, or behavior changes, the environment naturally tests your boundaries. These tests are rarely obvious. They show up as small pressures, challenges, or surprise resistance. People in life push against stability because they depend on predictability. Your choices are watched, your patience is measured, and your limits are tested. It is not personal. It is systemic. In behavioral science, testing is a stress check. Systems, social, work, or family are built to confirm whether a change is real or just temporary. The more steady your inner state is, the more these tests reveal other people's patterns instead of your weaknesses. Passing them does not require fighting. It requires consistency, calmness, and awareness. Think of it like real-world polishing. Each test gives feedback. Which relationships fit, which habits truly help, and which parts of life need stronger boundaries.
When you move through these tests on purpose,
You speed up your growth and show reliability, independence, and authority qualities that cannot be faked or forced. One of the most annoying truths about change is that inner growth often happens before outside praise. Psychologists call this the status lag phenomenon. Your skill, clarity, or calm may be fully real inside you, but the world is slow to notice. Opportunities, credit, and respect often arrive only after systems catch up with your inner change. This delay is not failure. It is a normal result of perception and social slow-moving habits. People need repeated evidence before they update their picture of you. Until your presence, actions, and results are visible over time, recognition stays delayed. Knowing this helps you avoid giving up and helps you choose patience, focus, and alignment over quick applause. The key insight is this: if you quit because praise has not arrived yet, you undo your progress. The inner change is the real win. Once it lasts, the outside world will match it. By staying steady through the status lag, you build authority, trust, an influence that cannot be easily challenged or ignored. When growth starts, opportunities usually do not show up with flashing lights. They appear as quiet signals, an unexpected talk, a casual connection, a small new responsibility. Cognitive opportunity theory explains this. The brain and the world show weak clues first before revealing big high-stakes chances. Seeing these small openings is a skill that separates people who move forward from people who wait until everything is obvious. Most people ignore small signals because they seem unimportant, choosing comfort over risk. But inside these quiet chances is leverage. Early action lets you move with confidence, placing you ahead of people who only move once. Everyone can see the opportunity clearly. History is full of leaders who noticed subtle shifts before most people did. The key is attention and preparation. When you stay aware, clear, and ready, you can spot the early signs of opportunity. Acting at the right time multiplies your influence and turns what looked small into a major advantage. Change in one part of your life rarely stays only there. Behavioral science shows that improvements in emotional control, clarity, and boundary setting often spread into other areas. One inner change, like staying calm under pressure, can improve decision-making at work, strengthen relationships, and even help health by lowering stress. For example, learning to focus on tasks does not only boost productivity, it builds discipline, patience, and resilience.
Wow.
The same brain pathways used for one skill often strengthen other skills too, creating a web of competence. That is why inner growth is more powerful than outside success alone. Understanding the spillover effect helps you focus on personal mastery with strategy. By building coretraitspresence.com/confidence, you create a base that lifts every part of life. One change becomes many. And small, purposeful actions create results that keep building. Clarity changes everything. When mental noise gets quieter, decisions happen faster and also more accurately. Neuroscience shows that emotional control reduces fear and doubt in the prefrontal cortex, allowing quicker, confident judgment. The result is speed without recklessness, actions guided by understanding instead of reaction. This also changes how people see you. People notice fast decisions paired with calm. Quick but grounded choices signal skill and reliability, which builds respect, trust, and influence, unlike impulsiveness. This is strategic speed. It builds momentum instead of chaos. The takeaway is simple. Strengthening inner clarity multiplies action. Faster, smarter choices create results that build your authority while protecting emotional and social balance. Speed becomes a sign of inner alignment, not a reaction to outside pressure. Not every relationship matters, especially during change. The challenge is telling the difference between people who are using you and people who truly match your direction. Pattern recognition based on psychology and behavior becomes a key tool. Look for steady actions, shared values, and mutual emotional support, not pretty words or short-term convenience. Real allies stay reliable under pressure. They do not change based on your status or mood. They stay steady even when life tests. Psychologists call this reciprocal reinforcement, where both people support growth without taking advantage of it. Seeing these patterns helps you invest your energy in relationships that build you up instead of draining you. The reward is huge. True alliances speed up progress, provide guidance, and create powerful, shared opportunities. When you build discernment, you avoid distractions, reduce conflict, and make sure your inner growth is supported by the right people. On the outside motivation is weak. It depends on praise, deadlines, and recognition. When you build independence, clarity, and purpose, the need for outside pushing disappears. Self-determination theory shows that inner motivation, driven by values, curiosity, and inner alignment, lasts much longer than any outside reward. When motivation comes from inside, it is steady and easy at the same time. Act not because someone is watching, but because your vision and discipline require it. The energy you used to spend chasing approval is now used directly for results, mastery, and growth. Tasks that once felt heavy now become ways to express yourself and make impact. This shift changes how you live. You stop reacting to other people and start shaping your environment. Action becomes natural, steady, and tied to long-term goals. Motivation is no longer a temporary feeling. It becomes part of your daily life. The biggest reward of this journey is freedom. It's not freedom from hard things, but freedom from reacting. When your inner state is aligned, calm, and confident, you do not need to defend yourself, explain every choice, or react to provocations. The life you build becomes proactive, intentional, and rooted in inner authority instead of outside approval. Philosophy and modern psychology agree on this point. The highest kind of power is invisible, steady, and self-sustaining. By mastering inner alignment, emotional control, and strategic presence, you live in a way where influence happens naturally, protection is not needed, and manipulation stops working. The result is deep change, a life lived with clarity, strength, and freedom. Systems, people, and opportunities stop controlling you. They start aligning with you. Outside praise becomes proof of your inner mastery, and the quiet victory kind no one can steal or reduce becomes your lasting legacy. People change how they treat you because humans naturally adjust their behavior based on perceived skill, steadiness, and influence. When you show mastery through decision-making, emotional control, or strategic thinking, others automatically rethink how they deal with you. Social psychology calls this status recalibration. People change their tone, expectations, and behavior to match what you have shown you can do. Basically, they respond to your real skill, not their old assumptions. Neuroscience explains this. 2. Through mirror neurons and pattern recognition, people can sense confidence and competence through small clues. Your posture, your tone, how fast you decide, how calm you stay under pressure, and how you set boundaries. These signals trigger a quick update in social ranking. People who used to depend on controlling you or predicting you suddenly realize their old beliefs are wrong, and that can create careful respect. More curiosity or quiet attempts to realign. This response is also often emotional, not just logical. Seeing someone act with honesty, skill, and calm can cause self-reflection, insecurity, or admiration. People may project their doubts, but even resistance is still a response to your stronger presence. Put simply, your actions create ripples. The stronger, clearer, and more consistent your actions are, the more the social world people's systems and opportunities must adjust to your level. Your growth forces everyone around you to recalibrate. Real change is never about outside praise. It starts inside by building clarity, emotional control, calm, and steady action. You create an invisible shift that reshapes systems, relationships, and opportunities around you.
How?
People adjust, not because you force them, but because your presence shows a new level of competence and alignment. The ultimate victory is inner mastery. Outside rewards, recognition, and influence are natural results, not the goal. When you stay aligned with your values and abilities, you no longer need to defend, explain, or prove yourself. The world starts working differently, not because you fight for it, but because you live with a level of authority, calm, and clarity that cannot be ignored. This journey is both quiet and powerful. Every inner adjustment, the calm, the boundary, the measured action, creates results that keep building. Over time, life responds to your presence instead of your chasing. The transformation is permanent, quiet, and unshakable. A life where action, respect, opportunity, and influence flow naturally from who you are, not what you do to convince others. Thanks for sticking with me through this video. It means a lot. And I hope you're leaving with something valuable you can actually use. If you enjoyed learning here, hit subscribe and drop a comment with your thoughts or questions, because this is just the beginning. There is so much more knowledge waiting in the next videos.